Hello and welcome to the BusinessXtoY podcast, the weekly podcast where we talk business from a generational perspective. I am Brian, representing Generation X.
And I'm Brandon, representing Generation Y.
And I again have a cough drop in my mouth. I figured I'd start with it this week rather than go to it in the middle. So my voice is kind of funny. I'm still sick, obviously. How was your week?
My week was pretty solid. I have no complaints. Another week of work, school, and enjoying life.
Yeah, well, you sound good, and I guess that's all that matters when you're talking about a podcast. So this is episode 17 being recorded on Sunday. That's right, we're doing a special Sunday recording. The 4th of August. This is the first podcast for the month of August, 2019. For release on Wednesday, even though we're recording on Sunday, we're still going to try and release on Wednesday, the 7th, August 2019. So we have 3 stories. We're going to go back to our traditional format this week. So 3 stories worth talking about, and then a main topic that Brandon actually came up with, and I think it's a really good main topic. So I'll let him introduce it when we get time. Hey, Brandon, you ready to go into the stories?
Yes, sir.
All right. Capital One data breach, which has affected 100 million applicants/customers. So, just about a week after Equifax announced their settlement with the FTC, Capital One has to admit that they've had a data breach, which information they've gathered either through applications or through customer history from 2005 all the way up to 2019, which means me then. They got me. Has been exposed. That's equals about 106 million customers have been hit by this. Yep. Are you a Capital One user as well, sir?
Yeah, and I was affected in the Equifax thing, too.
Damn. What's in your wallet?
Yeah, for real. Yeah. I'm just getting kicked in both sides today.
Yeah. Well, actually, we're going to talk about Equifax later, right after this story. So, Capital One is going to be updating per, suspected victims of this data breach on August 5th. So, that will be a nice Monday thing to look forward to. They say informations like social security numbers, email addresses, and maybe passwords have been exposed. So change your passwords, everybody. Change your passwords. Ooh, you said a bad word.
I did.
Can't say bad words. We're on iTunes. There's no swearing on iTunes. Like there's no crying in baseball, there's no swearing in iTunes. All right. Consider yourself chastised, sir.
Well, yeah, that was my slap on the wrist.
All right. You ready to talk about Equifax?
Yeah.
All right. If you thought you were going to get a $125 settlement for the Equifax mess up, you are dead wrong, folks. The settlement has been finalized by the FTC, and it's for $700 million.
Oh.
It was projected by the FTC that was going to mean $125 to each victim. But the FTC this week, after saying last week that's what everybody's going to get, they said due to overwhelming demand, this is overwhelming demand in 1 week, folks. Due to overwhelming demand, there is going to be no chance that people are going to receive $125 settlement chips. They haven't given a new number, but it's going to be significantly less. The FTC is recommending that instead of asking for the settlement, people who have been are plaintiffs in this particular settlement opt for the 4 years of credit monitoring. I actually currently pay for credit monitoring, and I pay $23 a month for it. So, 4 years of that is, more money than $125. If you think you might be a victim in the Equifax settlement, or entitled to the credit monitoring, or if you decide you want to get the $125, you can go to ftc.gov/Equifax, or just go to BusinessXtoY and take a look at the episode 17 notes, and you'll see the link there, so you can see if you're on the list, if you can take advantage of those things. Please, nobody that's eligible for something like this, don't take it. Miss out on taking advantage of it. Make these folks have to give everybody who they've inconvenienced with this some kind of recompense.
Yeah. My take on this, I find this very, it's very chilling in a sense that just all of like your most crucial like information was just I mean pretty much just like negligently handled. Like that's your whole deal, and you just dropped the ball on that.
That's right. That's Equifax's
That's
entire deal. That's their one job. That's right. Their one job, and they were incompetent at it. And there's also, it's like we can't dismantle them. We can't put them in conservatorship. We can't fire them. We can't put them out of business. They're a necessary part of the global economy, not just the United States economy, which is one of the most important economies in the world. You know, Equifax deals with information on a global scale. So they are an immortal company, you know, essentially, and there's nothing that we can do about it, and we can barely hold them accountable.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot that needs to be thought about in this circumstance, considering the fact that, like you said, they're just so large that there's nothing we can do about it. There's literally, they're beyond the check and balance system in a sense, because like they make the world go around.
Yep.
And the fact that they can just cop out of 125, a measly $125. Like
that's right.
Measly, they can't even cover that loss.
Well,
they can't even cover that loss, and they can just cop themselves out and say, "Okay, we'll give you 4 years of free."
And that is actually more an incompetence from the FTC, because in my life I have been the beneficiary of, I don't know, I probably say in the neighborhood of 13 or 14 different class action lawsuits. And every single one of them, they say your settlement amount's going to be this much, and then what you get is typically half of what that is. And it's not because, there's lawyers' fees or whatever. It's always because they always estimate, you know, incorrectly how many plaintiffs are going to actually ask for the money. So the FTC, with a long track record of knowing this, they, again, gave the worst estimate they possibly could, and their estimate didn't even hold up for a week. So this is the FTC's fault, either by doing a poor job of estimating how many victims are going to ask for the $125, which obviously they did, or asking for too small an amount. Apparently, they should have asked for double, you know? Yeah, $1.4 billion probably would have been a better number.
Yeah. Or they could have just had this figured out behind closed doors before releasing something that groundbreaking, and just having, I feel like to begin with that was just such a terrible settlement of, like, I mean, the 4 years of free service holds a lot more weight than $125.
Absolutely.
Like, the $125 was a backhand.
Yep.
Like, here you go.
Yeah.
Or you can take the 125. Yep. Oh wait, sorry, can't do that. Just take the free. Like,
yeah.
This is quite infuriating, and I'm sure I'll be receiving an email tomorrow morning from Capital One.
Did you put in for your settlement for the Equifax thing yet?
I did.
What did you ask for, the money or the credit monitoring?
I asked for the credit monitoring.
That's a better deal. It's a better deal. I was not affected, I don't believe, by the Equifax thing. I'm going to double check, but I'm pretty sure I wasn't affected. The Capital One, I'm obviously affected. It was 106 million customers. That's got to be every single customer. You know what I mean? What's the chances that the Capital One has 106 million and one customers? I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Capital One, for one, I'm going to be affected by for sure. So I hope the FTC, you know, does a better job of holding people accountable to this one. The Equifax situation was supposed to be in the neighborhood of 146 million folks got their information exposed. Which, by the way, I mean, I don't mean to like say, it's only 146, but for the size of Equifax, right? Right, and the fact that there's 300 million Americans in this country, right? 146, like that's basically everybody who's over the age of 18 who participates in credit, right? And somehow Capital One found a way to lose around as much as Equifax. You know?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's crazy. How did they do that? So that's something number wise that kind of popped out at me. It was like, what? That's pretty close to the same number, and like that's got to be you've lost every customer's piece of information. You know, so shame on you, Capital One. I hope what's his name, Samuel L. Jackson stops doing your commercials over this.
I wish I could go. When I'm rich, I'm just gonna fly to these places, to these headquarters, and toss one stone. Just toss one stone at each place. Just break one window.
Yeah. That's like a much nicer version than my enemies list. You're getting there. You're coming closer to the dark side.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah, that's right. Slowly but Brian Shirley.
The fun.
All right. So last story, and we're gonna have to before we get into the story, we're gonna check your delivery food app IQ here. Name 3 food delivery apps, and you don't have to have used them; just have to name them. So name 3 off the top of your head.
Postmates, Uber Eats, Grubhub.
All right.
And there's one more for a bonus.
What do you got?
There's another one that it's another one.
There's tons of them. There's tons of them.
So many of them.
Yeah, and then like I was down at my nephew's army graduation, right? And they had like specific local ones, right? He was in Athens, Georgia, right? And there was this thing called Athens Eats. It's only for Athens, Georgia, and I was like, well, actually, that's kind of a smart move, right? Like, yeah, like if you're gonna be, you can compete with the national chains in your local market, just being a local company, just leveraging the fact that you happen to live in the same community as these restaurants.
Exactly, and you have like you said, like, and he has a wider reach than a lot of those places too. Like, I mean, well, not a wider reach, but like a better familiarity.
Right.
Like, he's able to leverage his network a lot better than a lot of these other places are. Like, they just aren't on the map. Like, and other people can do the same thing.
Yep.
Other people can literally do the same thing.
But, like for Uber Eats to sign up, Papa Smith's little small pizza place, right? They have to spend some energy. They hire a salesperson, blah, blah, blah. This person, right, whoever runs Athens Eats, right, could, be a very small, maybe not a one-man show or one-person show, but it could be like a 4-person show, right? And they could easily, 4 people could easily lock up make deals, get contracts with, 30 of the top delivery places in a place like Athens, Georgia, where, Uber Eats would, need to have a staff of folks to be able to get 14, 15 people, and then that person would be in an office in Seattle or Los Angeles or Chicago, who knows, right? And they're trying to talk to somebody in Athens, Georgia. All the places I just mentioned, right, aren't even in the same time zone as Athens, Georgia.
Yeah, it's I think that's a good example of opportunity being more so on the micro level than a macro level, because I feel like a lot of people get stuck on thinking about how they're going to revolutionize or compete against.
Yeah,
they're not even.
Yeah, they want you. If you want to make an app, everybody defaults practically to making a global brand. And it's like, well, if it's a delivery app for food, then maybe you don't necessarily need to start thinking global. Maybe you need to start thinking local.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that too. But I mean, like, just overall, like, when people think about business opportunities, I feel like people often, like, I know I've done it in the past where I'm like, there's no shot I'll be able to, like, run a business because that's going to be such a large thing that has to operate and compete with, like,
like, oh, yeah, if I, like, honestly, you're not starting a search engine, right? You're not trying to compete with Google. You're just trying to get people food.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you can eat plenty good off of that. Like, you can change your life with an opportunity like that if you just think, if you can just solve social, like, not social problems, but like if you can offer solutions to your community, that's the way.
There you go. I think that's more. I think people do need to start thinking, in lines with that more than trying to think about, like I said earlier, becoming like a global brand. Just solve a problem in your community. And then find a way to do that and make a profit at the same time. And then, if that becomes a global brand, then God bless. But if it doesn't, and all you did was just make a profit by solving a problem in your community, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I think anybody trying to run a business or offer anything for money versus if you're trying to make money, you have to offer a solution in some way, shape, or form, whether it's your time or expertise. So, like, you should start there to begin with. And then, on top of that, like you said, like, I think when you start with your community and people that you're familiar with, it's a lot more easy and applicable because, like, you feel more comfortable with the whole process of learning and making mistakes in the middle.
And this is where you live, right? So any problem you solve where you live is almost a multiplier in benefit. But we strayed a little off the topic. The reason I asked you to think of three that you thought of, because I'm pretty sure the one you you weren't going to get the one that actually just sold for $410 million. As a matter of fact, you didn't even name the company that bought it for $400 million. Have you ever heard of a food delivery app called Caviar? That's spelled Caviar.
I've seen the app, like I've seen the calligraphy, like I've seen the brand.
Okay.
I never knew what it was.
Never knew what it was. All right, so they are a food delivery app owned by a company called Square. Are you familiar with Square at all?
Yeah, I know what a Square is. It's like the payment service.
That's right, the payment service. So yeah, so they're a credit card processor, and they have this food app that I've never heard of, and I was pretty up on my food apps, and it was bought by a company called DoorDash. Heard of DoorDash?
Yeah, DoorDash, that's the one I missed. That is literally the one I missed. That is the one that I didn't name. And I was like, there's one more for the extra point. DoorDash
is famous for, they actually, if you leave your driver a tip, they'll actually deduct it from his salary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's their claim to fame. They just promised to stop doing that, but they didn't really give a timetable on when they were going to stop doing that, or what they're going to do instead. All they said was the CEO basically said something along the lines of tips will no longer be deducted from their salary, which is crazy. That's just
yeah.
Nuts.
How's that a bonus? How is that literally a bonus? Yeah. You could go buzz a table at a restaurant dealing with people's dirty dishes and have eaten food day in and day out for tips that you get to keep.
Yeah, and then if you get in your own vehicle with gas that you put in your own car and then risk driving on the streets of the United States of America, which are deadly, by the way. This driving is a fatal activity in some situations. To bring somebody food and then they give you $4, that $4 is a break-even situation. Your company will keep the $4 and just deduct it from your salary. But anyway, so DoorDash, to compete more with the Uber Eats and Grubhubs of the world, spent $410 million to buy a little-known food app owned by Square. And I think this is the way the article kind of reads. Is it looks more like this is going to be a partnership. Like, DoorDash has bought Caviar, but they've also making a partnership with Square to, streamline their credit card processing. And I got a cough, excuse me. All right, I'm back to you. And, get more profit out of their per transaction situation. So, I hope this will make DoorDash more moral and more responsive to their customers and to their drivers. But I have a feeling their $410 million expenditure is only going to kind of embolden some of these more dastardly business tactics. Have you used DoorDash before?
No, I don't use none of that because I don't believe in it.
Really?
That's just laziness. This is one thing. I come from not naturally having a car, so just the action of me getting into a car that I pay for and I own is low key the highlight of my day.
Okay.
So, I just don't see the point in doing that when I'm already paying for something that I should be using versus asking some stranger to do that.
I see. So, can I sum it up? Let me tell me if I'm seeing it the way you're telling me. You don't do delivery because you don't see the benefit of paying somebody to bring you food because you could do that for yourself and you have a vehicle that would provide you the ability to do it.
I mean, yeah, that. Don't get me wrong. If we're gonna order pizza and you're like, yo, let's order a pizza, and I'm gonna be like, okay, let's order a pizza. Like, I'll give you money to order a pizza.
Sure.
But 9 times out of 10, I'm not gonna order somebody to go get me food through an app because like that's extra money that I'm paying somebody that I could have just gone. That's why I put gas in my car.
Absolutely.
You know? And also I just keep on reading these articles and seeing these things about people talking about how they eat other people's food or like mess with people's food.
Ugh.
I don't want a stranger touching my food.
I never even thought of that. Never even thought of that.
I'm good. I live right around the corner from everything I need, so I'm good.
I use it. I use it fairly frequently. Back when I worked in a more corporate environment, right? Ordering food is, kind of a thing you just gotta regularly do when you're working in an office, other salespeople, stuff like that. I'm also somebody who, when I used to live in upstate New York, I was, depending on where I was located, I usually knew the good places to eat, so people kind of leaned on me for that particular ability. And I like placing it through the app because, like when you call, they got the music on in the background, there's 10 people talking, they misunderstand you, they weren't really listening. On an app, you have time, you just type in what you want, how you want to alter it, put the special instructions in there, make sure you got on it what you want to have, and it's all written down. So less chance for them to mess up an order. And my orders are, they're not super complicated, but I can't think of anything that I just order the way it comes on the menu. I augment just about any sandwich I've ever purchased.
Yeah, I understand that. You're particular. You know what you want.
I'm particular. Yeah, that's in a nice way, I hope. So that would. So I use the apps. I don't like DoorDash. One thing I read that thing about they take the money out of the tips. Also, they in my area, DoorDash has done this thing where they've kind of like made this deal with Google, where like every single restaurant it shows up. Like, when you look at your Google Maps, it shows up like they have a deal with DoorDash. And then you click on it, and you find out that they don't. So, it's just, they're just not very reliable for my particular area. I think I've tried to order from DoorDash like 10 times, and I think I've only completed an order like 5 times. Postmates, I'm not a huge fan of. Uber Eats, I have to admit, as much as Uber is a pretty vile company, their Uber Eats thing is pretty useful. I like the thing where where if a driver's in your area already at a restaurant, they'll give you free delivery on that. I've taken advantage of that on multiple occasions.
That sounds like a good deal.
Yeah. So yeah, I do it, and it's partly because sometimes I just don't feel like driving. I just don't feel like going and getting it. Number 2 is my line of work. Oftentimes moving away from my computer is less profitable than paying somebody to bring me food.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Yeah,
our circumstances are just different.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, if there's a chance I could lose a sale, that would make me $70 in profit, right? That I would lose in the 15-20 minutes that I could get in my car drive to go get food and whatever. So that. Yeah. So I take advantage of those. When it's intelligent, things that I hate missing out on with the food apps, and they got to fix this. The delivery company that fixes this is going to, jump up significantly. Is I hate missing out on, like, Jersey Mike's is one of my favorite sub places, and excuse me, jeez. Overrated. Yeah. Well, I told you my Jersey Mike story. In my area, they're great.
Oh yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
Circumstantial again.
Yeah. But anyway, so and I have just a metric ton of Jersey Mike's points, right? And if you order through Uber Eats, you don't get the points on that order, and you can't use the points to pay for an order. So, like, one of these companies needs to step up and find a way to link your accounts and stuff like that so people can benefit from those points. Excuse me.
If you link your account well, I guess, yeah, if you could link your account, like, from those restaurants with that would be pretty cool. That would be really cool. My only thing would be, like, that's even more information. Well, they already have everything they possibly need.
They know what you live and what you ordered and when you ordered it, baby. That's everything.
And how you paid, too.
And how you paid,
You're already in the deep end.
Yeah. At this point, like, and the thing you said about people looking at your food, touching your food, eating your food, like, okay, I have to admit, for a millisecond, it gave me pause. But at the same time, like, I'm gonna be hungry one day. I'm gonna need to be in front of my computer. Like, what? I don't have a choice. I mean, what I do is I tip good, right? And I make the driver stay there while I inspect the food, because seeing as my orders are particular, I'm not going to eat my cheeseburger if it's got mayonnaise on it. I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
I guess you protect yourself from that, and that'll be a nice... well, you see, look, we both have solutions to those things, and they're different, but we come to the same point.
Yeah. Several drivers walked out and about to head back to their vehicle. I'm like, don't go no place. Let me open this thing up real quick. Hang out for a second. And then Then I close it up and tip them and go about my business. And if it's a big Chinese food order, they got to stand there and wait for me to do the whole thing. Now, the bigger the order, the bigger the tip.
Okay, well, you're fair. See, that's what we were talking about earlier. You're fair.
I try. At least I try. All right, man. Any other questions on the DoorDash acquisition of Caviar?
No, not really. Interesting.
Yep.
I find it interesting, but my thing about that is, like, they're jumping into a red, like, they're already too deep in a red market and they're too far behind. I feel like they kind of shot themselves in the leg up front.
I don't know. I would have thought that Grubhub would be the heavyweight champion of the world, right? But the area in which I live now, Grubhub is garbage. You look at Grubhub, and the people that will deliver in your area, it's in the neighborhood of like 10 restaurants, and I might be being generous by 3, right? It's basically, if you want to have Chinese food or pizza, you can order off Grubhub. If you want to order off Uber Eats, right? Anything you can order a Slurpee from 7-Eleven off Uber Eats.
That's cool.
You can do the same thing on Postmates, right?
Have you done that?
No, I have not. And another thing you said earlier about like that. Oh, you that's why you put gas in your car. So you don't have to do those particular things. I definitely feel that way about you. And like the electric motorcycle is the perfect tool to go grab a Slurpee from 7-Eleven real quick.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's why that's there.
So if I gotta hit an ATM machine or go to 7-Eleven and grab a Slurpee because that's what I'm craving a Slurpee, or do something real quick like that. I hop on the electric motorcycle, point in that direction, throw the helmet on, and then go. I seldomly feel too tired to do that. Even if it's just raining a little bit, I'm known to just throw the poncho on and do it, even if it's raining a little. I'm obviously not downpour, or if it's a lightning storm, I'm not doing it. But yeah, so that's I haven't gotten in my car to drive to 7-Eleven in like a year.
Okay, that's why that's there.
Yep.
That's why I kind of missed the golf cart too. The golf cart was great for that kind of thing.
Oh, no kidding! You had a golf cart?
Well, my grandparents did.
Oh, that's right. I remember them saying that. Where is that? That's in the
Merle's Inlet, South Carolina.
Okay. Yep. I've never had the pleasure of visiting that particular spot, but I had heard that there is a golf cart that is used sometimes. Is that still working?
Yes, it does.
You
should go visit sometime. It's very nice. There's tons of good food. People are very kind.
I will absolutely make that something to do in 2020. I will absolutely make a point to do that. As of right now, for the rest of this year, we're about to hit the Christmas season. Back to school isn't thrown away. I gotta make that money.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So, are you ready to get to the main topic?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Let's do it.
Please introduce it, sir.
So the main topic for today, we're going to be discussing how, the skills that you pick up in your day-to-day job, communication things and just dealing with people, how that can be a benefit in your regular life as well, because you just honestly learn how to move and navigate through different kind of personalities day in and day out.
Can you think of a particular skill that helped you in a particular situation? Like, give me an antidote.
Reading people, like just reading people. You know what I mean? When you're able just to walk into a room and just assess a room without really having to say anything, and you can just kind of visually pick up on like different cues, or like when you're speaking to somebody, and you're gauging somebody and their reactions to the things that you say, you know how to, navigate conversation and just a relationship a lot more efficiently and beneficially, I think.
Yep. I was in a situation with, the car buying experience that I was at, and I was able to skip through a lot of, I would say, the nonsense behaviors, by knowing what the salesperson was trying to get me to do, or knowing, why he's being evasive on particular questions. So I wouldn't have to keep asking the same questions over again, ask him for a clarification. I was able to understand, like, oh, this person's not being honest. And then I can just stop now. I don't need to deal with you. I'm good. I know you're not being honest. You're being what's it called? What's the best way to put that? You know the word I'm looking for?
Dishonest.
Evasive. That person's being. That person's
lying, deceitful.
Yeah, he's being evasive. He's pivoting questions on me. He's using professional communication skills, but he's using them in a dishonest fashion, and I was able to pick up on that and just kind of end up, and without getting frustrated, without just like oh, if this person's going to do that about this simple question, like you can't really take. So I was able to just go, okay, well, thank you very much for your time, and then the person was kind of looking at me like, what, you're leaving already? I was like, yeah, no, I'm all good, I'm good, but we haven't done a test drive yet. I'm fine. I gotta go. Thanks. And it was one of those things that, like, he didn't know why I was leaving. He didn't know what he had done that he talked me out of even doing this test drive. But like I did, because I recognized the signs that he was not going to be somebody that I was going to be able to communicate with efficiently, because he wasn't. He every single question I asked him, he turned into a question. I'm like, okay, if you want to do that deeper in the sales process after you've earned that right, that's fine. But if you're going to try and do that this early, me and you aren't going to get along.
Exactly, and it gave you the opportunity to tastefully exit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a lot of situations can be avoided if you just can read a person, and like I feel like you have great insight on this as well, especially in having like tons of management experience dealing with people with different personalities, and just being able to understand like what makes them tick and how you can, get the best out of them. Not necessarily just get the best out of them, but just keep a healthy relationship, right? Like,
ooh, I wish I could tell you I was good at that, sir, but I am not. That is my weak spot. I can recognize different people's personality traits. There are certain personality traits that I just can't function underneath. Something we'll have to talk about at a different scenario. But I would bet you, if you talk to any person who was either I managed or managed me, if you had asked them, "Hey, how is Brian at inner workspace politics?" they'd be like, "Oh, he's terrible at it. He totally doesn't get how people behave in these particular office space type scenarios. He hates it. He doesn't want to do that. Like, because I hated that in high school. So, like, why would I want to do that for money? So, I'm bad at that personal navigation, Machiavellian. Make those particular things where I'm really good at recognizing which people I'm going to be able to work well with, and then recognizing people that I'm not going to be able to work as well with, and then limiting my exposure to them, and also limiting their exposure to me, and knowing that, like, well, look, this person and I are not going to get along, so we need to communicate as little as possible, and for as little time as possible over things that are
as minimal as possible.
Yeah, over like if we need to talk about something, we need to talk about something that's very important. All right, we don't need to talk about things that aren't that important. Anything that's not that important he's doing to bother me, I'm just gonna have to eat it because like I can only talk to him 7 times a month. And once we hit 7, the 8th conversation is not going to be very productive. So yeah, and then I'm pretty good at hiring people that fit, like not hiring people that I like or would like to hang out with or would be friends with me, but I'm really good at hiring people that fit my needs for the store to a point of where like they're people that I like and that I would love to hang out with that I haven't hired and say, hey, like unfortunately, you're not going to fit in this particular thing that I'm looking for the person to replace, to do. I'm looking for somebody who's a strong merchandiser and who's got morning availabilities, and you're I'm gonna have to teach you merchandising, and I'm garbage at that. And your availabilities are okay, but they're not exactly what I'm looking for. So if you were a strong merchandiser, I maybe would forgive that, but you're not. And while I do enjoy talking to you, you just don't fit. I'm really good at departmentalizing that particular stuff, which I think is another reason I'm bad with the inner office communication stuff. I'm really good at departmentalizing like emotional stuff, which like if you go into work and you take all your emotions and leave them in the glove compartment, you're going to be bad at dealing with inner office politics.
Yeah, I mean that is I never really considered it like that. That is a pro and a con at the same time, just like is being emotionally intact with like that kind of stuff is
right.
But I think there's a balance. There's like a balance that you kind of have to find.
I would bet you're really good at inner office politics, right?
Yeah. I mean that's like, just because like I always give people the benefit of the doubt, and I'm just like I'm always willing to eat it because I mean you know what I mean, like if you need something and I can help you, but it's hurting, like it'll end up like kind of biting me a little bit. Like if I had to go out of my way to help you, I'll still help you because you need help, and it's going to make everybody else's situation better.
Yeah,
And I don't know. It's just this mentality I've always had since like forever, like playing sports, team sports, and I don't know. I'm just a team player.
Yeah. I think that if you just about any of my bosses, if you would ask them, is Brian a team player? I think they would say yes, but if you'd say, how's Brian's, interpersonal skills with his coworkers, they'd be like, there's some people that like him, and there's some people that hate him, like hate him with a passion of 10,000 suns, because he just rubs them the wrong way all the time. You just can't stop ticking them off, And I don't mean to, but I also don't spend a whole lot of time worrying about it, which, even understanding it. Yeah, there's coworkers that I probably think are okay with me, that probably talk junk about me behind my back constantly, right? And I'd be like, oh, and I would be like, wow, I thought we were cool, and that person would be like, what? Why would you think that? No, we're not cool. I want an anvil to drop on you. No, we're not cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't invest a ton of energy into like being like buddy with my like coworkers and the people I work with, but I do I do make it a point to say thank you and be cordial, and like I treat people like people. You know what I mean? I give them like not like an exact set of time, but like moments. Like, okay, thank you for showing me this, or thank you for doing this for me, or I do the small things. I say thank you, yes ma'am, yes sir. I keep it very respectful, and I keep it moving. I like to move light. I don't like for people to have negative things to say about me.
Yeah. Because
ultimately your reputation is going to take you, like, your name and the way that people bounce your name around. Like, when people say your name, the thing that comes with that name, usually, like, it really does matter to a certain extent, I feel.
From the vast part of my career, I did not realize that. I always thought, well, it's a sales game, and numbers are going to be the thing that, really depends on where you go. But I was told at the last place that I worked at, right? It was like, yeah, it's a numbers game, and yeah, okay, technically you're the top guy, but here's the thing: everybody hates you. No, not everybody. Okay, yeah, not everybody, but a lot of people. I'm like, oh, well, I didn't know that, and it's because I'm polite, and you remember the thing we were talking about earlier. You were like, I'm stern, but I'm fair, right? I don't hold anybody to any higher standard than I hold myself. I just hold myself to a fairly high standard, and I'm going to hold you to that standard as well, right? And then I don't do anything, right, that like that I wouldn't, want somebody to do to me, right? So in a situation like, we won't mention the company, but the company that I worked at where people were on the share, if you know what I'm talking about, We'll speak in a little bit of code here. All right, so that particular company where when you're on the sales floor and you sold a product, everybody got a piece of the commission on it, right, to benefit the people that were working customer service stuff while you're selling a product, right? If you were if there was a situation, right, where you need to be taken off the share, like you want to take an hour-long lunch rather than the half-an-hour lunch that would get you on the share, right, then I would take you off the share. And if I knew I was going to take an hour-long lunch, I'd let people know, hey, I'm going to be taking a long lunch, take me off the share, right?
Yeah.
So I would, so when but also the what's it called, the other half of that would be if you're picking up food for other people, then you would be kept on the share because you're gonna be making it so they don't have to leave the store to get food, right? So they would keep you on the share for that, right? So if I was picking up food for other people, right, then I would expect to be left on the share if I took longer than a half an hour. So it's just one of those things, so I try to understand the rules, and then I hold people to those particular rules, and I don't, and that's something that occasionally, coworkers would be, would complain about, the fact that I know the rules and I'm a stickler for the rules, and I would, insist that the rules be followed, and and I don't know. It's one of those things that, like, if it'd be a different story if I wasn't sure. I was like, well, I don't know, or maybe this is a gray area. But oftentimes there wasn't. It wasn't a gray area. This is fair is fair, and this is what. And like I don't ever in those situations. You're not going to get me to back down or compromise with you on fair is fair. I'm not gonna give you 50% and go the other way. No, fair is fair. This is the way we all been doing it. This is how we're going to do it. And those situations, the fact that there are things that I'll negotiate on, but I won't negotiate on that, would bother people. And then on top of that too is that anytime you're the top sales performer, in certain sales situations, you're gonna make enemies. And I didn't have the benefit of, like sometimes you can come in and you can like gradually get better, right? And then which will kind of endear people to you. Like you sucked for a while and then you got better, and then because they got to benefit from you sucking for a while, you know what I mean? Yeah, I came into that last place, I think it was like the first month I beat every new person, right? And in the second month, I was competing with the top guys in the market, right? So in the third month, I was the top guy in the market. So I didn't have any. I came in, the floor. So like that was, that was annoying to people too. That I came in good.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand that, but sales, I feel like, our two views on this are going to be completely and totally different because I am a people person. People don't really bother me because I don't let them bother me. I don't take things personal. Like 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to take it personally. But if you do kind of cross me or whatever, I'll just distance myself from you. But I'm not going to. You're not looking to get vengeance to get anything back over you. It is what it is. It's over with. But I feel like for the overall betterment of a situation that anybody is in, moving lightly and just navigating, reading people, knowing how to express yourself in a respectful manner even when you're upset, knowing how to do that stuff, taking a deep breath, collecting your thoughts, taking that extra second before you speak to have everything figured out. I feel like those little small things really do make a difference in overall moving, not only in a workspace, because you learn how to do that in a workspace. You can't just react to a customer or react to a coworker if they come at you crazy, because you realize what's on the back end of that. You have a greater vision in mind. So understanding that helps you navigate regular situations in life where you're like, dang, this person that doesn't know me is saying something wild to me right now, versus just punching them in the mouth. I'll just take a deep breath. I'll realize they don't know me, and I'll react accordingly versus just reacting.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I know that I am prone, not necessarily to punch them in the mouth, but like you're not that far off. I'm not gonna let's not split hairs, right? But but like I know I'm prone to, with a lack of better terms, to take things personally, or or to even, I think it's fair to say, overreact, right? And that's why I compartmentalize. I kind of leave my emotions in the car, and that's also why, like, a lot of times I'm just thoroughly confused by a person's behavior. Like, I'm totally, like, huh? Because like I'm not even in that space, man. Like, I can't tell you how many times that I was dealing with a customer, and like after they left, my coworker came over to me. He's like, "Did you get the girl's number?" I was like, "Yeah, I sold her a phone. Of course I have her number." Dude, she was hitting on you the whole time. I was like, no, she wasn't. And I think about it, I was like, oh, she was, wasn't she? And because, like, again, I left all of that in the car, in my glove compartment before I got in the store. I'm just trying to close deals, right here, and not that kind of deal. I'm trying to close, phone deals, so, and because I have that, let's just call a spade, that deficiency, because I have that, anger management, take it personally, gonna get even with you deficiency. I know I can't take those feelings into that particular workplace, which also leaves me at a disadvantage when trying to navigate through the interpersonal, stuff, and the people that I get along good with are people who both do the same thing as I do, or people like you who just realize that about me. And it might take you a little while, or sometimes people like you get it quickly, be like, oh yeah, he, it's not that he's arrogant or snotty or whatever. He's just coming here to work. He leaves his feelings inside that machine that he drove in today. Okay. And he's just here to work. So that's fine. I'll just relate with him on that level, and then the people who don't get me are the people who do come to gossip, talk crap, become drinking buddies or whatever. And they're like, what's wrong with Brian? I mean, like, he hardly ever talks about blah, blah, blah. Or I told him some joke, and he kept typing at his computer and was like, what do you, like, why are you still talking to me?
Yeah, see, like, but those people are just kind of in there for the wrong reason anyway.
But that's most people, though. Like, those
are the people that I just kind of stay away from. But you have to know how to navigate like, when you still have to kind of know how to navigate those people too. So yeah. I don't know. I'm just good at playing the game.
Yeah,
I understand.
You are set up so you can deal with people like me, and you can deal with people like them. Even if even if the way you deal with them is that you find a way to distance yourself or whatever. But like you wouldn't be in that situation where that guy's sitting at your desk telling you a joke, and you don't even realize he's talking to you because you're so deep into analyzing the thing that's on your machine and you look up and he's still there, and then you say the thing to him like, "Are you still here? What do you? Do you need something?" Yeah, like that's literally happened to me, right? And then they've walked away in a huff, and I've gone back to work and whatever, and I get a phone call from my boss like, "Yo, why are you in blah 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 fighting?" I was like, I'm not fighting with him. I'm just busy. I'm actually busy enough where I don't have time to talk to you. I'm trying to make you money. Can we talk about this later?
Yeah. See, I would have felt the same exact way, honestly, but I would have just been like, "Oh, yeah, that's funny," but I got, I got something going on. I would have played into him a little bit, but like giving him the
right.
sign up.
Well, and here's the difference, right? Like,
see, that's the difference. That's why we're talking about this right now.
Absolutely, and I think here's I think we can have a practical. Like if we switched bodies and you could go back in time and do the things that I didn't do in my last job, like I got a management promotion, right? But I got a management promotion probably 6 months after I should have got a management promotion, and I got the worst management promotion you could get. Like it was I got the management job that pays more money and you bleed a team and the rest of that stuff, but it's the one that like nobody else wants, because it's super hard, right? But so had you been in my shoes and been dealing with my interpersonal skills, the management position that I would have gotten would have been it would have been a lateral move, but it would have been a better position that would have been easier to do. It would have been easier to hit bonuses at. It would have required less travel. It would have required less spending your own personal money. It would have required less risk, but like a person like me isn't going to get picked for that job, right? Unless I have blackmail information on my bosses, or I'm just exemplary. I'm just amazing at closing deals and training salespeople. But if you're not, if you're just a good salesperson and organized and a good negotiator, right, you're going to get the job that I got, and that job is harder and it burns you out quicker. So you would have been more successful at my position had I had those particular skills that you're talking about, being able to read the people, being able to not take that stuff as personally, right? So I won't need to make the defense mechanism that I don't have any emotional sense at all while I'm at work.
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, to my benefit, and these are probably, I don't really know what experiences you've had with like managers and leaders, but I've just been blessed to have some of the best leaders, I think, just like point blank period, regardless of what they're doing. Like, those guys have made millions of dollars. Like, they've made a lot of money.
That is a blessing.
Been in positions where I've dealt with like good leaders who knew how to like move. Like, my first sales manager taught me and showed me so much as far as how to balance so many different personalities. Like, he literally had somebody who was mentally unstable, like, on his team, like legally, like they had like legal cases of like these things. Like, I don't want to go too far into it, but like cases that they beat by pleading insanity.
Jeez.
You had to balance somebody that was like very like not stable. Like, I can't. This lady was just like centered on being number one and being like just destroying everything. Like I really don't think she was sane, but he had to balance that and like a bunch of other personalities. And I just watched him delegate.
Oh my god! You know what the scariest thing about that thing is, right? And I hate to admit this, right? But I'm closer to her personality than I am closer to your personality. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Probably.
I can relate to her a little bit better than I can relate to being able to like, you can make small talk with people? Like, while you're at work, you can do that? No, I can't do that. I can't do it.
Small talk, no. It's not small talk. It's just knowing what to say, when to say it, and how to say it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
you want to speak positive. You want to speak direct and with action. Like, you know what I mean? If you're a leader, everything that you want to say should have, like, a call to action at the end of it, and it should be positive and empowering. Like, regardless of your relationship.
That's real good advice. That's real good advice. I'm gonna see if I can't absorb some of that. Hopefully I'll never need to use it. Hopefully I will. Yeah. I will be. I guess that's not true. I mean, like,
you're gonna lead a team eventually. Again.
Yeah, I'll be leading one probably pretty soon by the end of this this Christmas season. But hopefully I'll never have to be in a situation where the corporation that I'm working at isn't a corporation owned by me.
Yeah, but like, back to the point though.
Sure.
Like, all in all, you just got to treat people. It's just it boils down to just being able to listen, like listen and empathize. Those are just two of the biggest things I feel like when it comes to reading people and understanding and delegating and maneuvering like people. Just remove yourself, remove your emotions, like your personal emotions and how you react to things. Listen to why that person is saying that to you, and think in their shoes. And then you're just kind of able to be like, okay, like, they're being reactive to this, or they perceive this, or, you know what I mean? Once you're coming from a place of understanding, you're able to further remove that emotional attachment that you have that comes through your pride and things like that,
Yeah. And it'll take practice and a lot of time and energy to to build that particular skill. But if you can build it, right? That's a skill that will not just help you in your professional life. It'll help you in your personal life too, and not just personal life. Trying to like buy a washer and dryer or get a new car or whatever. Personal life at the bar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Another place in which I feel like a weirdo. We should definitely have this conversation again. We should definitely do a part 2 on this, because like there's a lot I can learn from it, obviously, and there's opportunities that I know that my inability to navigate office politics. I can think of 2 jobs right now that I could have gotten a lot higher in if I had a better ability to navigate office politics. I could only I got better at it from one to the other job, but like and I definitely got farther in the other job because I knew I had this weakness. But I never as much as like when I was bad at time management, I studied and worked at it, right? Like I never really attempted to deal with this interpersonal office politics issue that I had, because I just figured it's just my personality, right? And like I don't want to be a different person, so yeah. I don't want to do it. But I think there are skills that I don't have to be a completely different person that I can incorporate to do it.
Yeah, but I also think I definitely agree with everything you just said. Like that's spot on. Like I was gonna say that, but then you said it first.
Good.
But yeah, I honestly think if you just tweak like a few things, like you'll see a ton of difference. Like, and it's really just like a small little few things, like saying thank you, or like I feel like you thank you.
Yeah,
like
I'm polite.
You're not. I don't think you're a terrible. Like when you say these things, like about how people react to you and find you abrasive, like I could see it just because like you're very straightforward. Like there's no faking the funk with you, but I don't understand how somebody could just how like a large mass of people could just be.
Well, for one thing, it's not with people that are your kind of personality, right? Me and you would be able to get along okay because, like, unless I was a mutant, right? Just the worst, Hitler-like person on the planet, I wouldn't be able to get along with you. But, like, I think if we worked in an environment with degrees where there was a gradient of different personalities, there would be people, obviously. If we worked with 7 other people, 2 of that 7... one would really dislike me, and the other one would just mildly dislike me, and then the other people would be, like you, and then what the other people would either be anywhere from like me to just be okay with me, not have a problem, right? But when you have somebody who hates your guts and the other person who just doesn't like you, right? Then like the other 2 people who are just fine with you, right? That those aren't wins, and then so now there's just 2 people that like you. That's working there, and then and they barely offset the guy who hates your guts. So your overall is still negative in that scenario. It's almost as if everybody there just barely liked you at that point, right? Or just disliked you a little bit, rather than 2 people like you, 2 other people are fine with you. One guy hates your guts, and the other guy's like, I don't like him, but I wouldn't run him over. Other guy's like, oh, I would totally run him over.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see where you're coming from, and like, I could see that because I feel like I get that sometimes, especially when I'm first meeting like people sometimes, and people are just kind of all automatically brushed the wrong way because of maybe their own insecurities or whatever the case may be.
Sure.
But my key for that, like what you're just talking about there, is just never speak negatively about people. Or like never really, I don't like speaking negative about people unless like they're there and it's not even like a critique. It's just like, it's not negative. It's just like the apparent, like, and I always offer a positive after that. Like I will only speak positively about people if they're not in my presence. So
like that's something that's gotten that's something that's gotten me in trouble. And I'll tell you how I've dealt with it. That's actually like rub people the wrong way, right? And then you tell me if you would have done the same thing in that scenario, or But here's what the place that I was working at, the last place that I was working at, frequently had a culture of bad mouthing people when they weren't there. Bosses did it, coworkers, equals did it, people did it about their bosses did it about their employees. It just constantly, and people very seldomly would bring complaints to the person that they had a complaint about. Typically, complaints were handled, or personality conflicts, or decisions about, how things should be split and things like that were handled behind people's backs, and, with agrimony and the rest of that stuff. And I did not do that. One thing, if I had an issue with you, right, I would go out of my way not to tell another soul about the issue that I had with you. Number two, if somebody was complaining about an issue that they had with another person, with you to me, I would typically say, well, have you talked to them about it? And that would usually tick people off. Like, I cannot tell you how many times people would walk away in a huff with me after they got done explaining the situation, and I was like, well, did you talk to him about that? And then they just, you're not listening, and they just walked away, right? And then also, if people were, like, in a mass, not doing work, right, and they were just complaining about a particular person, I would make them stop. Like,
that sounds like a toxic environment.
Right, I would.
Like,
if they were just,
you?
If they were just one person, if there was just two people talking a little crap about somebody, I would try and ignore that. If there was four people standing in a circle talking crap about a person, right, I would make them stop. I'd be like, cut it out. That person's not here to defend themselves. If you have an issue with that person, take it up with them. And I would make them stop, So, and again, like, and of all the things that, that rub people the wrong way about me, believe it or not, that was the thing that bothered people the most. Now, they would never confess to that. They would never write that down any place. But the people who didn't like me were the people who frequently, I had to tell them to stop doing that. Stop that. If you have an issue with that, if you don't like the person's behavior in that particular situation, you should bring it up with them. And this isn't helping. So stop it.
Yeah. I would have to die on my sword on that one as well. But
really? Oh my God, that's like a hug. That's like a hug over the internet from you. I appreciate it. Because I thought for sure you were going to tell me, yeah, Brian, stop, don't do that.
I have more. I think that's what makes people like me, though, is the fact that I have morals, and like I stand by, like, for the most part, I stand for, like, everybody. Like, I'm a people's person. Like, you can't. That just sounds like a toxic environment.
It was. It's pretty toxic. Yeah. You had to put a hazmat suit on to go into work there.
Yeah, I wouldn't. That doesn't sound like a place I'd be employed. Like,
you'd have done fine though. You'd have done better than me.
I mean, yeah, because you got to know how to navigate a snake pit. But,
yeah. Or you know what? You might have gone in there, looked around, and been like, "Yeah, this is bad. I'm not going to do this," and gone someplace else. That might have been the way you've done better than me on a particular thing.
Yeah, but I just don't stand for that. I don't associate myself with that kind of stuff. Like, if like the only negative things that I could possibly say about anybody are like things that I know for sure about people, which are like usually the people that I'm the closest with. So if I truly feel that it's negative, I'm gonna say, hey, bro, this is a negative. So I feel that this is not in your best interest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything else outside of that realm is literally like me joking. Like, you know what I mean? It's just us nudging each other. You know what I mean? Like, it's how people are. But, like, I'm not the type of person to go behind your back and be like, oh, yeah, so-and-so's doing this, so-and-so's doing that. You know what I mean? Like, my closest friends know, like, how it is with me.
We totally have to do this topic again to a beat continued, because I did what I feared I was going to do. I think I derailed. Yeah. And we're at 10 o'clock right now. So do you have a closing thought you want to do?
Yeah, just make sure, just treat people with respect and be transparent and stay true to yourself. Like, when handling people, and communicate. Don't think so. I feel like that's another big thing with communication is make your feelings be known, but just place them tastefully. Take the time to figure out how to place your emotions without bias. I mean, not without bias, but just tastefully, so you're not offending people. Just be transparent.
Good advice. All right. Thank you all for being the best part of my week. Until next week, go make a profit.